sightings of ghosts, an abandoned insane asylum, creepy ass dolls, werewolves, and witches, honey. Do not obey. Stay woke. Nobody's gonna stop me. This is real. Do not obey. Stay woke. Scary as hell. What's up, guys? It's me, Do Not Obey, and let's get into another video. Now we're going back to Lake Lanier. Some of you guys know how I feel about Lake Lanier. Some of you guys don't, and some may not even care. But the lake cares. These are some ghost stories that are coming out of a city that was covered up on purpose. Do not obey. Stay woke. Peace.
It's most of y'all. 2 earthquakes were recorded overnight beneath North Georgia's massive Lake Lanier, and dozens of people report they felt shaking in the dark. Yup, they coming up. The earthquakes registered at 2.3 at 11:15 p.m. and 1.7 2 hours later. I guess they were marching. I don't know where y'all going, ancestors, but can I come too? Both were centered 4 miles north of Beaufort, Georgia, which is close to northeast Atlanta. Now, some people said they even felt it in Cumming, Georgia as well. Now, the last time Lake Lanier had an earthquake was in 2020. It was like a 2.2 magnitude, and more than 70 people felt that bad boy. All I know is y'all pissed our ancestors off when y'all built that little water slide. Lake Lanier has claimed, 2 people already? And the summer has just started now.
Hey, family, friends. This here is a picture of Lake Lanier underwater. It was taken by 2 divers, and they went down there and found the whole city. Well, come to find out, it was a black city, and that area was mainly Indians and blacks. And the governor at the time, Hartsfield, which this airport that I'm sitting in right now was named after, Hartsfield Jackson. Well, he built this dam, the Beaufort Dam, because Atlanta needed more electricity. All right. In doing that, they stood over a bridge and watched this town get covered up with water.
Now, there used to be a town called Oscarville, Georgia. The town was flooded to make Lake Lanier. It's a really sad and terrible story. You can look it up. I think it's awful. Okay, there's churches under there. There's cemeteries up under there. They didn't dig the bodies up. The bodies are still buried under there. There's a racetrack up under there. When there's water's low, you can see the top of the trees. Those aren't like little twigs or whatever floating around. That's the top of trees from the town below there. So it is my personal preference not to go because I've heard so many stories. Every year on the news there are things happening. Of course, it could be coincidence. It could be, okay? I went one time with my ex-husband and we were swimming. I was completely in my right mind, wasn't doing anything not to be in my right mind, if you get what I'm saying. And I thought he was behind me pulling me up underwater. And when I would get back up above water, I would look around and he wasn't behind me, and I thought he was just going under. I thought he was playing a trick on me or whatever. Well, finally, when I started screaming or whatever, I heard him holler my name, and he is way over here with his friend about 7 or 8 yards away from me. So I don't know what was pulling me under, but I've heard stories from people saying the same thing, that they felt something pull them up under there. So if you've been to Lake Lanier and you've had similar situations, then let me know. But I do know people that go every year and they love it, and that's fine if they love it. but it's just a personal preference for me. I ain't going.
Beginning of April, I actually was going to go visit Lake Lanier to get some content, to get some filming done, to see what I could feel, what I can hear. Did anybody need me down there? But after I thought about it for a little while, I was actually in Georgia that day. I decided not to go. So for this one, I had to take an L on it, okay? Because just because you can do things doesn't mean that you should do things. And I felt like it was not necessary, and I did not need to go to Lake Lanier.
On Christmas Day, 1964, a family was driving from, you guessed it, Cumming, Georgia, when their car lost control on the bridge and crashed into the lake. This just so happened to be on the bridge that was, no joke, 300 yards from my house and dock. All year round, my cousin and I were always together on the lake as kids and even into adulthood. We decided to go for a jet ski ride, and we had to go back under the bridge to get to the dock where, out of nowhere, my jet ski cuts off for no reason. As a kid, I really didn't think anything of it, and I went under the jet ski to take a look. I was under the water for maybe 10 seconds when all of a sudden I felt something grab my leg. A second later, I hit the bottom of the lake on my butt, and I was disoriented but was free from whatever or whomever had me. I pushed off the muddy bottom of the lake and swam like crazy to the surface and came up in a panic. After I climbed up onto the jet ski, it started up like nothing had ever been wrong in the first place. As we were all together as a family, my grandma knew something was off with me. Finally got us to confess what happened. This is when I told the truth and found out that the family were actually kin to my family.
It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. I wouldn't even go fishing out there.
Bray Barnett has lived in Atlanta his entire life, and Lake Lanier is not typically on his fun list.
People jumping off the boat and drowning. You know what I'm saying?
About 14 million people visit Lake Lanier every year, so it is inevitable that bad things do happen there. Boat accidents, fires, drownings. Even just in April, 24-year-old pro basketball player Dorian Pinson drowned after jumping off of a rented pontoon boat. Even this viral video, a young girl dancing on a boat, just slips right off.
So far this year, we've had 7 drownings on Lake Lanier. Last year, we had 7 in total for the whole year.
Mark McKinnon works for the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. The 176-foot lake is their responsibility.
Our goal is just to try to give people the information that they need to keep their family safe, and then it becomes personal choice.
There's a lot going on underneath Lake Lanier.
Old homes, old buildings. There are a lot of trees on the bottom of Lake Lanier.
Come on, say what the
Experts
real
say
thing.
the government was
Say what's
reckless
really
back
down
in the
there.
1950s. They just dumped water on top of empty towns to make Lake Lanier what it is today.
There's a lot of graves underneath every one of the lakes. They were family graveyards, African American graveyards that weren't marked, slave graveyards that weren't marked. So when they go to start, surveying the land, they tried to find all the graves and move them. They did a lot, but they didn't move every one of them.
Graves, even of black people who used to own land and live around Lake Lanier.
This is Lake Lanier during a drought. The surface under Lake Lanier is completely unpredictable. There are trees, actual forest areas, to include a damn town, as well as a cemetery. And over the decades, people have also lost things in the lake. So that makes it more complicated. The depth is also unpredictable. You can be in knee-high water 1 minute, take a step, and go 30 feet down. The lake gives us an idea of just how unpredictable it is. When there's a drought, they've recovered boats, bodies, cars, the top of homes or businesses, and just debris. So it doesn't matter if you're a good swimmer or an experienced boater, keep your ass out that lake.
Maggie whipped her leg over the seat and grabbed the handlebars. This was going to be her first time going out and driving a jet ski by herself. Her parents and boyfriend were offering her some last-minute encouragement. She was nervous, but excited. She started the machine up and felt the rumble pulsate throughout her body. She closed her eyes, gave a deep breath, looked up, and took off slowly. She kept it slow and went about the lake looking at the boats and sights throughout the area. Finally, she began to get comfortable and picked the speed up a little bit. As she raced back inside of the dock, She looked over to her parents and boyfriend cheering her on. A smile came across her face and she looked back in front of her, and as she did, she saw a person floating in the water directly in her path. She yanked the handlebars to the side and went flying into the water, hitting her head on the machine during the chaos. She felt dizzy, but opened her eyes as the sun beat down on her face. She was able to look back towards the dock and saw her father and boyfriend struggling with a raft to get out to her. Then, she felt something grab her ankle. Frantically, she thrashed her legs around, but couldn't get it to let go. It began to pull her down. She struggled to stay afloat, but it was no use. As she was being pulled under, she looked down to see what had a hold of her. As she reached for her ankle, she saw what it was. A ghostly woman in a blue dress with an enraged face stared back at her as they both sunk down to the bottom of the lake. I'm Rob Coakley, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Lake Lanier.
Surviving Lake Lanier. It was 1997. I went to the Brunswick Dark Course Center in January, so it would have been June, July, when they took us on a field trip to Lake Lanier, like a field day. It was like a whole day thing, and I had a friend of mine who asked me if I would go out on the water or the floaty with her. Now, mind you, she's from Tennessee. I'm from Florida. I'm from the beach, okay? So, I told her, yeah, I would go out there with her and Sammy Dredd, but he had to assure me that he could swim, which he did. She couldn't swim either, but we both did go out there trusting that if something happened, that he had us, okay? So we go out on the float, we having a good time, you know, we out there sneaking and burning one, we having a great time, and then all of a sudden, this dude that me and Twin, we call him the Demon, because every time we smoked with him, which was maybe 2 times for this particular day, he started looking like a demon after we smoked, so we started calling him Demon. So he came out there and was like, you know, don't play, because we can't swim. So he was like, you know, okay, whatever. Went under the water, and since he was about to swim away, went underneath the float, and came under the float, and knocked both of us off the float. Now, this is where it gets weird. Not weird, but this is where it really goes down. Okay, so I go underneath the water, and I can't tell you exactly what my thoughts were as I was falling off of the float into the water. But the moment my head went under the water, there was not a feeling of or a thought of, oh my God, I'm drowning. It was like instantly, wow, it's trees down here. It is freaking trees under here. And then I heard a voice, plain as day, it sounded just like me, and it said, Chastity, you're under the water. And I said to myself, of course not out of my mouth because I was under the water, not like this, Lord. In that moment, I heard instructions, which was to take my hands, do them like this, and do the action of maybe of flying. So I did that with both of my hands, and I out of the water. When I came out of the water, I yelled while looking around, my feet won't touch the ground, and boosh. Whew, excuse me, y'all. Back under the water. Again, as soon as I got back under the water, man, I'm telling you, there was not a thought of fear. It was not a thought of, oh my God, I'm drowning. It was, wow, there really is trees under here. And then in that moment, I can't tell you, all I can tell you is somebody picked me up out the water and walked me to the shore. All the movies, since 97 to now, every movie that I've seen when somebody is drowning, the person that's saving them grabs them around, this area or something like that, and they swim with them to a safe place. That's not what happened. I nobody swim with me nowhere. Somebody, a black man, picked me up, carried me out of the water, and set me on the shore. I don't owe you a lot, because I don't know you. I've only shared my story with a couple people. And that's my story, and it's the truth. I'm here. And I pray that this video comes across twin. This chat, girl, is me from Job Code, your bestie. I pray to God that it come across Sammy Dredd, because he was out there, because he saved Twin, just in case y'all wonder what happened to Twin. He saved Twin. He was busy with Twin. I can't tell you exactly what happened because I was in the moments that I just described to you. But I know that Twin was okay, because Twin was with him. You know what I'm saying? So I wish, I pray, I hope, whichever word makes you feel more comfortable. I manifest, whatever word makes you feel more comfortable, that they see this and they can testify to what I'm saying. Nobody swam me out of the water. A black man carried me to the shore and set me on the shore. And in that moment, I'm the reason why we had to stop the field trip, because all the fellas that was around, when I saw Demon, I said, that's him, he tried to drown me. Yeah, and they all got on his ass, excuse me, his behind, his buttocks. Yeah, so we had to pack up and we had to go back. That was because of me. Anybody that was at Lake Lanier in 1997 that was in Brunswick Child Court that remember the rumble on the side of the lake, you ain't gonna remember me drowning because you went out there.
Y'all wanted to hear more about Lake Lanier? So let's talk about some unsolved cases that has happened over the years at this haunted lake. Now today I'll be talking about a Georgia man that goes by the name of Kelly Nash. And he was 25 years old when he went missing from his home in Beaufort, Georgia on January 5th of 2015. Now this is old news, but it's still unsolved and very weird to me. Now early that morning around 4 a.m. he woke up having flu-like symptoms, and he told his girlfriend named Jessica, who was with him at the time, that he felt terrible and that he probably should go see a doctor before he went back to bed. So his girlfriend woke up again around 7:30 to find out that he was gone and he didn't take his wallet, his keys, nor his ID. So when he still haven't returned that evening, police were called. But it was also discovered that a 9mm pistol was missing from his house as well, but his other belongings wasn't. So he didn't bring his car keys, he didn't bring nothing else, but supposedly the pistol was missing. So the search went out involving authorities, family, friends, dogs that can, sniff up bodies. And it was a $50,000 reward offered for anybody with any type of information. Yet no trace of the man and his whereabouts was found. And it was not until 1 month after his strange disappearance, on February 8th, Nash's badly decomposed body was found in Lake Lanier by a fisherman.
Popular water park is not letting anyone get in the water. Here's video from News Chopper 2 over Margaritaville at Lanier Lakes, where the beach is open, but no one's swimming in it. Management told Channel 2's Brian Mims it's for safety.
For Wendy Brown, this is the ultimate.
All I have to say is I'm so glad this is happening. Good. You keep putting stuff over people. You keep putting things over tragedy. You keep overlooking certain people that are humans. And you continue to lose people. Oh, fucking well. And I'm so happy about this water park. Because you can't enjoy shit because the ancestors are not going to let you. Out there on that lake, I'm telling you now, there is no color. You go out there and disrespect that, go out there, go on, do it.
Lake life, sliding her paddleboard onto Lanier's clear water, gliding beneath a blue sky. Out here, there is no fencing her in.
To put a fence up at a beach, this just makes no sense. It's ridiculous, if you ask me.
But there is a fence in the water all along the beach at Margaritaville on Lake Lanier.
I mean, it's not a beach. It's just sand.
The management of the water park says you can sit on the sand and soak up the sun all you want. Just
You can sit on the sand and soak up all the sun you want, but you can't get in that water because you're going to continue to pay for what you did. I'm telling you, that lake is not going to be forgotten. Those people are not going to be forgotten. They may have been forgotten, but they ain't forgot what happened to them.
don't get in the water. In a statement, it says the safety of guests is prioritized above all else. After careful consideration, we have decided to no longer offer swimming in the lake area. While we understand that this may be disappointing for some, we believe it is the right decision to maintain a safe environment for all our guests to enjoy and will allow us to put added focus on other parts of the park to offer a better overall experience for all our water park guests. Kim Densmore wonders if no lake swimming might hurt business.
I don't think that's right. I really don't understand that.
Park management would not explain what specifically they're worried about with.
They're worried about the spirits. They're worried about the ancestors. They're worried about the damage that they did. They never moved the bodies. Poltergeist taught us that in the first chapter of Poltergeist 1.
Lake swimming, but they do say this, that lake access is available in a controlled environment at the aquatic adventure attraction, and management says there are kayak and paddleboard rentals available. Live at Lake Lanier, Brian.
What the bottom of haunted Lake Lanier looks like. The Army Corps of Engineers flooded several small towns in the 1940s and 1950s, including Oscarville, the mysterious death of Lake Lanier's latest victim.
More breaking news now at 3. A 73-year-old man drowns in Lake Lanier. The Hall County Sheriff's Office tells us Matthew Mayo was fishing with his wife yesterday when he tried to sit down in their boat, but the seat became unbolted and Mayo toppled into the water. He never came back up. Georgia game wardens were able to recover his body in 6 feet of water.
Currently, Lake Lanier has claimed over 700 souls since 1956. What do you think? Leave a comment.
Talk about some more freak accidents that has happened over the years at Lake Lanier. The ex-wife of R&B singer Usher, Tamika Foster, lost her son here a few years back, and the whole situation is just so tragic. To the point where she even made a petition, and she's had over 3,000 signatures. I'm sure there's more now. But in hopes of draining, cleaning, and restoring this lake. And in hopes of when the massive lake is completely drained, officials can safely remove hazardous materials to improve safety measures at this lake and to ensure the well-beings of all individuals. And that's because in 2012, almost 12 years ago, she lost her 11-year-old son due to a freak jet ski accident. Now at the time, the 11-year-old boy, Kyle Glover, was floating on an inner tube when a jet ski driven by a family friend crashed into him, and he was declared brain dead and spent weeks in the hospital due to his injuries, and sadly he later passed. Now this whole case is so sad because just think, you're just, on the lake with your family and your friends and you're just trying to have a good time, and then this freak accident just happens. And the family friend that made a mistake and crashed into him, name was Jeffrey Hubbard, and he was convicted of several charges, including homicide by vessel, sentenced to serve 4 years in prison and 15 years on probation. Now, this happened in 2012, so I'm assuming that he's out now. But this is not the first, and it probably won't be the last freak accident that has happened on this lake.
A 23-year-old man drowned while swimming in the lake this weekend. It's the third drowning there since July, with more people expected to head to the lake for Labor Day weekend.
It's the only time I come down. It's just, gotten a bit too crowded for me on the weekends.
And anytime he does go out, he says he keeps certain things in mind.
Even on the dock or the ramp, wear your life jacket. That's number one. You just have to keep your head up, watch other boaters, don't drink, and you'll be okay.
On Saturday, Georgia Department of Natural Resources officials say 23-year-old Edgar Stephen Cruz Martinez swam in the lake at Lanier Park, but never resurfaced. Game wardens found his body in 10 feet of water. 2 other men died after swimming in the lake on July 31st, and another man was electrocuted after jumping off a dock on July 27th. Game wardens say there are a number of different safety risks people can encounter anytime they enter the water.